Hey, hello. I'm Scott Stevens, Goldsboro City Manager, here for our September monthly update. Again, these things come around rather quickly. It's always amazing to me that it's time to do this again. We do want to mention trash in the community. Again, it's still an effort for all of us to do our part. We have an Adopt a Street program. You can contact my office or our city's planning department and get your group signed up so you have name recognition, but more importantly, support from the city in terms of bags and trash collection, gloves, those types of things. And then the most important part is cleaning a section of our city, of taking pride and having the citizens really become involved in that. So again, trash in the community continues to be an issue and a concern for the mayor and council, and certainly it's a visible sign of some things that we can correct. We are out here on Mulberry Street outside of City Hall for this viewing. I will tell you, we continue to have new business coming into downtown. Across the street, we've got Hall and Hog that has opened up recently, and I would just encourage you, if you haven't visited downtown, there is a lot of new activity going on a regular weekly basis. So take a minute and stroll downtown and see what's going on within the city of Goldsboro. As we speak, they're setting up for Beak Week, so that will have occurred by the time this is airing. But Beak Week has been our week-long festival really dedicated to the poultry and agricultural history of our community. A lot of activities going on this past weekend. The weather is setting up to be very nice. I'm excited for the upcoming activities, and do want to thank all involved, from our Parks and Rec staff to community partners that are helping to pull this together. And again, a nice event for our community, more to grow on, and I hope that you were able to get down and enjoy the festivities. Hurricane preparation, again, we're getting close to the end of hurricane season, or at least for what normally is hurricane time for us. What passed through a week or so ago in Hurricane Hermine, or Tropical Storm Hermine, really turned out not to be a significant event for our community other than rain. But I do want to say thank you to the city staff. They worked hard to be prepared, and they were prepared to respond if needed. And again, we had a few trees come down, but nothing of significance, and I hope that your property fared as well. So again, do stay vigilant. It's still time, I think, through the end of November where you could have hurricanes in this area. But again, August and September have been our months more prone to those types of storms. Public art, in the far distance behind me is the Venus flytrap. It has been something that's been, I think, very well received by the community, as it was installed a year ago. We've got a couple others, Flight and Dreamsicle, along Center Street as well. Varying opinions on that when we installed it a year ago. Some liked it, some didn't. Over the year, I think most people have come to enjoy most of them. I know I see people getting photographs in front of all of them. I will tell you, our intent has been to rotate that art. It is leased art. We pay $2,000 a year for the art, so it's a very good price to lease it. It is $40,000 to $60,000 to buy it. We have shared with the council our intention is not to own a public art collection, but to lease it, with the hope that somebody locally would like it enough to buy it. So again, if you have an interest in either of these pieces, they are available for sale. If not, they'll be leaving the community. And October 14th, we've got a celebration to install new public art downtown. So I hope you'll join us on October 14th and come down. And for those that were unhappy with the art we installed last year, they ought to be happy to see it go. I'm sure we'll have those that love the art that's there today that are unhappy to see it go. But our intent is to keep it interesting downtown, lively downtown, and appeal to a lot of different groups. And I think the new art coming in will do just that, to generate the conversation again and be appealing to some. And if you don't like it, again, it's only here a year, and we'll rotate it out. Skateboarding, we've had a lot of conversation in the last 6 weeks on skateboarding downtown. We would have told you the rules were fairly clear and that you couldn't skateboard on our sidewalks. That was not as clear to some that were skateboarding and trying to read into the ordinance. We did share with council. They were supportive of making it clear that you were not to skateboard on the sidewalks in downtown, as well as not perform tricks. We're not trying to run skateboarders out of downtown. I think the council is very interested in having the group that's here and the age group, and I think they do some positive things in terms of activity and liveliness in our downtown. We just want to keep pedestrians safe, we want to keep the public facilities not damaged, and we don't want to put them or vehicles traveling along Center Street or other parts of downtown in harm's way. So more conversation on that. We are at least reaching out to the group and trying to see, is there an area downtown that for low cost or very little money we could set them up to have an area where, one, they would feel more welcome downtown, and give them an area that wouldn't be bothersome to neighbors and other business owners. So again, more to come on that, but again, I don't want to run the skateboarders off, but I also don't want to put them in a place that has potentials to harm pedestrians or damage public property. We've talked about the old W.A. Foster. The new one's open and running. It has been since April. The old W.A. Foster, there was some interest from the council and community members last spring to do something else with that building. We've been trying to have the building evaluated. We do have some information to share with our council mid-September. Some more conversation coming at the mid-September meeting for the city council. So if you have an interest in the old W.A. Foster Center on Leslie Street and what might happen to that, I would just encourage you to pay attention to our mid-September meeting. And after that third Monday in September, if you have questions or comments or want to talk about it, I'll be able to share more about that after I've shared with our city council sort of what we found and what we'd recommend. But all along, what I have shared is we intended to tear it down. If we'd like to save it as a community building, my hope is we can find a group that will take over that building, whether we sell it at a very low cost or donate it, but that we would give it to a group that would have an interest in preserving its history and making some active use of it, but knowing the risk going in. And that's what we've been trying to share, is that the risk of the building in terms of maintenance and cost and things that need to be corrected. We've talked about Berkeley Boulevard and its widening project in the last, year or two. We were told that project would be done by the end of September. It's a DOT project. The city did put $1.5 million into right-of-way acquisition and moving utilities. So DOT is working to complete that project. Their contractor was doing the milling work, just the work they do right in advance of paving. And during the milling work, the contractor damaged about 2,600 feet, or almost half a mile, of the curb and gutter that is there. So some of that curb and gutter will have to be removed and replaced. That has delayed the project about a month. DOT tells us that in the next 6 to 8 weeks that project should be completed. So instead of the end of September, which we had shared with you previously, it will be more like the end of October. So again, a little more patience with that. I think it will be worth the wait once we get there, but it certainly is frustrating for those that are using Berkeley Boulevard on a daily basis. So I would ask a little more patience. Our DOT is working hard with their contractor to wrap that project up and get it back open, but it should be a better passageway for us as soon as that project is completed. And again, end of October timeframe is when they expect that today. We've talked often a lot about violence in the community and police efforts and then police staffing. And so I think we're making good strides in terms of violence in the community. The Sheriff's Department's been a great partner. They have been in the community a lot with us. We've made a lot of arrests over the past month. So again, I feel very good about activity that's going on in terms of us curbing some of that. We'll continue to stay active with that. Use of technology is significant. The council, we did discuss cameras in downtown and in some of our high crime areas, and we are evaluating some camera technology today that we intend to share with our council mid-September, early October, that would talk about some options for them to consider in terms of cameras that are easily deployable and cameras that are fixed that have much better quality resolution. So if there's an issue, one, we have an opportunity to solve it maybe quicker. The other side is we're really hopeful the cameras are a deterrent, particularly in our high crime areas where we would move these cameras around. So more to come on the technology side. Again, the shot spotter technology is out there. That is active. That has helped us a lot in terms of responding, and also has led to some arrests as well. So we will share more publicly with that in the coming months, and just want to let you know that those things are out there, and our staff is working hard to make sure this community is as safe as it can be, and more importantly, as it should be. Police recruiting, we've talked a lot about officer shortages. We made a lot of changes to equipment, uniforms, other items last year. This year we came back and talked more about pay. A year later we're still 15 to 20 down, so we're trying to do other things in terms of attracting officers either to stay with us or to pull from other agencies. Starting pay, we're still very competitive at $35,500. When I look at surrounding communities, we don't pay the most for a starting officer, but we're way ahead of many. So again, I think our starting pay is not the issue for our police recruiting. Where we did lose some is there are programs in other areas for movement within ranks just for time and service and training, and so we did come back to council and talk about it at 2, 4, and 7 years. 2, 4, and 7 years for our entry-level police officers, you would get a 2% raise at each one of those marks with good evaluations, good performance, and then some minimum required training. So with that said, an officer can come to work for us and be almost guaranteed a 6% increase in pay in 7 years, in addition to the COLAs and merit increases that go on. So again, that is significant, and that is something that's in place at many other departments. So that should help us. To help with not making our lower level employees make more than our existing employees, although the law enforcement personnel were given a 3% raise, so anybody in law enforcement got at least a 3% raise, and then those that were police officers at 2, 4, and 7 years of experience with us got a 2, 4, or 6% raise. So again, I think we've helped some in terms of retention and recruiting in there. The other thing we weren't paying for that others have is a 2-year associate's degree in criminal justice. We were not paying anything for. We would now pay an officer 2.5% on top of whatever other salary they have. If they have a 4-year degree in criminal criminal justice, they would get a 5%. That is typical in many other departments, so we have caught up with that, and I think that will help us significantly. We're also paying for experience. In the past, we've hired officers from other agencies, but basically you had to start at the entry-level salary. And again, I'm not saying year for year in another agency makes sense for us, but certainly somebody who has 10 years in another agency comes to us with more experience and should be worth something more than somebody who's just come out of B-Lab. So that is something we have set up a way to evaluate that and to offer paying for experience. So if we had officers in other departments that for whatever reason would like to come to Goldsboro, and we do have those inquiries from time to time, we're now able to pay them more than the minimum salary. Again, I don't want to get ahead of our current officers with similar years of experience, but at least we could catch them up to that group and pay them more than an entry-level officer. And then finally, we've, over the years, even 25, 30 years ago to 10 years ago, had an opportunity where we would hire somebody and pay them benefits and all to go to BLAT. We have talked about that with council. With the openings we have, we are now offering that program again. So applications are open today, that we will screen applicants through the fall so that we hire good people, 5 or 6 that we bring on staff, fully benefited, and send them through BLAT with an idea that they have a commitment to work for the city of Goldsboro as a police officer for a 4-year term. So again, more on that coming, but I do think you'll have a lot of response. We've had good interaction the first month that we've rolled this out, or really the first 2 or 3 weeks. And I would tell you, if you know of someone interested in law enforcement and working with Goldsboro, please get them in touch with our police department or our HR department and let us talk with them, because we definitely are interested in talking with them. There is a community recruitment day, September 14th at the Goldsboro Event Center in the afternoon or early evening. I think it's around 4 to 6 p.m., but I would encourage you to be part and make sure you're getting the word out to those that might be interested in, again, becoming a law enforcement officer. It's definitely a need throughout the country, but it's a need here in Goldsboro as well. A little more on downtown. We did just complete a downtown parking study that the council has approved. Significant look at downtown spaces, public and private, and I guess the good news is the study shares that even at peak times of all the parking downtown, it's only about 50% utilized. Yes, you have some areas around the courthouse that become more used, or areas around City Hall that are more heavily used, but there is plenty of parking in and around downtown, and within about a block to 2 blocks you would be able to park anywhere within downtown and get to your destination. So if you have concerns with, hey, there's not enough parking downtown, we'd be happy to sit with you as an investor or a business person or just a visitor to share, hey, there really is a lot more parking. We need to do a little better in signing and helping you see some of that, because some of it's unclear, are you allowed to use it or not, and we'll work on that. And then you're going to see more enforcement, I believe, from us as we're having conversations with the council, particularly in no parking areas where we have areas signed for no parking and vehicles are parking. I think you will see some enforcement of that and fines coming with that. And then we'll also likely limit Center Street itself probably to 2-hour parking in some of the more congested blocks, so the traffic turns over and people that are living downtown or working downtown don't consume the best parking places for our business community for 8 or 10 hours a day. So more to come on that, but just be aware that that is in conversation. In terms of throughout the community, we constantly talk about homes that are in bad shape and need to be demolished. The council just awarded a contract to demolish 26 homes. Our building inspections department handles those homes. They keep a list on their website. If you have an interest in buildings that are on the list or upcoming, we either have them on our website or feel free to contact the building inspections department if you have a specific address in mind that you want them to make sure that they're aware of. We do have 200 to 300 homes in minimum housing, so in some form of need by the property owner, they wouldn't all be condemned and tore down, but we are working hard to clean up areas of our community where property owners have neglected their properties for many, many years. We've talked about stormwater and a stormwater fee with our city council. They have authorized us to at least establish a stormwater stakeholder committee. The stakeholder committee will really be a group of 15 or so that will guide the process and decide, 1, do we have a utility, y'all? And number 2, if we have a utility, or at least a recommendation to council on having a utility. 2, if we have a stormwater utility, what will it do? Will it handle just private water? Will it handle public water? Will it fix any drainage problem in the city? And it can do whatever the community is willing to pay for. And so from that standpoint, if we're just doing the public drainage kinds of things, the areas that we would tell you we maintain today, we're probably in a $3 to $4 a month range per residential unit. If you get into doing all the public or all the water drainage problems within the city of Goldsboro, then you probably up that number at $8 or $10 a month per resident, just because you take on a lot more drainage system that we're currently not maintaining. So our hope is that we would approve a stormwater utility, which would then provide dedicated funding to fixing drainage problems. Right now our drainage problems compete with everything else from Parks and Rec. to police and fire, to general government, and again, it tends to get lower on the list except for a specific problem. We've deferred a lot of maintenance and a lot of projects where we know we have problems with pipes because the funding is not there or the funding has been spent somewhere else. So this would allow us to focus more on correcting problems. It wouldn't compete for money within the general fund, and it has worked in many, many communities around us to help improve the drainage system within their community. So if you have an interest in it or want to know more about it, a stormwater stakeholder application is on our website, or call my office. Public Works is our lead agency in terms of department, but we'd love to have you to be part of our stakeholder group representing a business, church, or residential person within the city of Goldsboro. So please, if you have an interest in that, find us. Bond referendum, Mayor and Council, we will talk more about this with them. They have authorized a $10 million bond referendum. Would not result in a tax increase. Our debt pays off such that as we sell these bonds, it would basically stay within our debt, so it would not require a tax increase to pay back the debt service associated with these bonds. They've said $7 million for streets, and basically street resurfacing and some street construction, and then $3 million towards the multi-sports complex. We do have $3 million from the county, about $1.5 million that we've got related to our tourism sales currently in the bank. The additional $3 million would allow us to accelerate that project and do more of it quicker, but the $7 million for streets, we will go back to council. We've had a number of questions about which streets, and I will tell you, I don't think we can be specific for the whole $7 million, but our intent would be to come back with some streets to say these that serve, I guess, the primary streets within a neighborhood, that we would list these streets that if the bond passed, they would be done, and then our commitment would be we are rating our streets. We do that about every 10 or 15 years. Our current pavement condition rating survey is pretty old, so we're going to update that, and then we would use that pavement condition survey to help us guide the remainder of the bond money or any future resurfacing, so that we're really starting with the streets that are in the worst shape. And that's what the pavement condition rating survey does. It goes out and somebody visually looks at each section of street and evaluates pavement condition, from its rideability to how much patching to the types of cracking to what other failures are going on within that street system, and then you're trying to address the worst ones first. And again, so that's our process with that, and more to come. We'll talk with the council September, October, so that October we can be really presenting information to you in the community. In terms of events in the community, I'm always amazed at all of the things going on. People sometimes say there's nothing going on. There always seems to be something. You just have to reach out and look for that. A couple upcoming events here. A USTA tennis tournament will be in Goldsboro the weekend of October, or really starting October 13th and into the weekend of the 14th through the 16th. I would encourage you, if you're a tennis player, to find out how to become part of their association and participate. I assume that's still possible at this date, but regardless, I would encourage you as a community member to come out. They will be playing tennis throughout the community, and Herman Park Center being sort of the focal point, but it will be tennis courts used throughout Wayne County and beyond. Paramount Theater is entering their busy time of the year, so if you have things to do there, Paramount Theater schedule is out, but a lot of activities coming up for the coming months. I would encourage you to take a look at their website or visit the Paramount Theater and see what is there. If you have upcoming events for parties, family reunions, I would encourage you to consider using the Goldsboro Event Center. Again, you can contact the Paramount Theater box office. They're the ones handling the scheduling of the event center, but it is a great place with a lot of rooms set up that would be very nice for groups of 40 to groups of up to probably 300 or 400. A great venue, nice parking, lighting, looks out over the golf course, really a nice place. If you haven't been there, you ought to take a look at that and consider that for your next event. And then finally, I'd like to just mention the Herman Park Center. We did hold public meetings in August and took public comment on some ideas for a replacement for the Herman Park Center. More will come on that in the coming months, and again, council's not made the final decision on that. If we move forward with that, our recommendation has been that the council would borrow money, not through a bond referendum, but to borrow money against the building. And again, it's probably a $10 million project to build a double gym and some of the other amenities that would be expected to replace and be a community center to service for the next 50 to 100 years. So with that, I'm going to close for now. Thank you for your time. If you have anything you need from me, please don't hesitate to contact my office. Again, it's 919-580-4330, and anything we can do to help, we want to. So please don't hesitate to find us. Thank you.